We are up to Daf Tes Zayin Amud Aleph in Masechta Megillah. And the line begins, Sheheviyu bebahala. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13 lines from the bottom, Megillah Tes Zayin Amud Aleph. The line begins, Sheheviyu bebahala. Let's remember, it's the second day of Pesach. It's Tes Zayin Nisan, right? And Mordechai was taken around the streets of Shushan. He goes back to the gate to fast, and Haman goes home. He's mourning. He's covered in schmutz and filth. He's so upset. The Chachamim and his wife tell him, You Mordechai will defeat you if he's Mizerah Yehudim, the Shevet of Yehuda, Binyamin, Ephraim, and Manasseh. And then Vayavilu, they rush to bring Haman, and there's Bahala, he's afraid, he's fearful, because of the situation in which he's brought to the king. He's just in all of this panic and hysteria and difficult situation, and he's slept to the king. And we know what happens now. What happens now is there is the second party that Esther arranged, which is the second day of Pesach. Which, by the way, brought in halacha. I mentioned this, that on the second day of Pesach, there's a minig, it's brought by many poskim, to eat something extra in the meal, second day of Pesach in the afternoon, as a commemoration for the party, for the second party that says the famous words to Achashverosh, the key words, and her words are, she says, find favor in your eyes. Tinosen li nafshi b'sheilasi v'ami b'bakashasi. I'm going to ask to be killed, to be lost. If we would have been sold as slaves and as maidservants, I would have remained silent. Why? Ki ein hatzor shoive benezek hamelech. What's ein hatzor shoive benezek hamelech? Yeah. So Rashi says that what Esther was saying is that Haman couldn't care less about the damage of the king. If he cared about you, he should have sold the Jewish people. He should have told you, sell them as slaves and take the money. Or keep them alive and let them be your slaves. They and their descendants should work for the king. But he did not do that. Thank you. But it's a very interesting words. That's when Achashverosh asks Esther, who is this man? Who are you talking about? Who is this person who sold you and your nation? Look at the Gemara. What does this mean? She said, this tsar, Haman is called the tsar. Tsar means somebody who's an oppressor, somebody who's a killer, somebody who, the word tsar, like the word tsar, means narrow. Tsar ayin is stingy. Tsara means a problem, a distress, a calamity. Tsoyer haYehudim, the one who's tsoyer, he oppresses Jews, he distresses Jews. Macht Yidden eng. Tsar also means like a derech tsara, a very narrow strait. So tsar is Haman. She doesn't say his name yet. But this tsar, this oppressor, this lowlife oppressor, Einoi shoive benezek shel melech. He couldn't care less about the nezek of the melech. It's an expression which he says, Ein hatzar shoive. What's shoive? Rashi says, shoive choishesh. Shoive means, Ein hatzar, this oppressor, shoive. He couldn't care less. It's not worth anything for him. It's associated with the word shava. It's not, he doesn't care for it. So this tsar, Einer shoive benezek shel melech, ikne ba bevashti v'katla. He was jealous of Vashti, and he killed her. He told you to kill her. The Gemara said earlier on Daf Yud Beis that Memuchan, the minister who was consulted and he advised the king to get rid of his wife, Vashti, this Memuchan was Haman. It was one of his nicknames. Vayomer Memuchan. So he says, look at this man. He couldn't care less about you. He couldn't care less about your nezek. Couldn't care less about your damage. He became jealous of Vashti. She was too royal. She had too much power. So what did he do? Katla, he got her killed. And now he's jealous of me. Now I stand in between him and the king, and he wants to kill me. Look at this pattern. He needs full power. He needs full control. He cannot have anybody who's more powerful than him. He got jealous of Vashti, and now he's jealous of me. He couldn't care less about the Nezek HaMelech. Where do you see he wanted to kill her? She started off, Tinosenli nafshi b'sheilasi. I want to rescue my soul. I want to rescue my soul. So Esther was saying, it's not just, I'm a Jew, so he's going to kill me. It's much more than that. He wants to make sure I'm dead because I'm getting in between him and the king. He couldn't care less about the Nezek HaMelech. At least if he would have sold us as avodim or shvacha, ismeila. What is Esther doing here? What is the Gemara saying? What is Esther doing here? She's bringing out from Achashverosh his worst fears, his worst paranoia. Now suddenly this Haman, the great hero of the Persian Empire, the closest man to Achashverosh, is turned into the greatest villain who couldn't care less about Achashverosh and has been using the king all the years for his own power. This was Esther's brilliance at this moment of why she has them both at this party. Back to the Gemara earlier, why she invited Haman to the party. What happens next? The king Achashverosh says, Vayomer le'Esther HaMalka, and he tells Esther, let's finish the pasuk, Mi hu zeh, ve'ezahu, Hashem la'oili boi la'asais kain. Mi hu zeh, who is this? Ve'ezahu. And what, who? And again, who is this? It's a very interesting expression. Mi hu zeh. That is thus, who is it? Ve'ezahu. And who is this he? Who is this and who is this he? Hashem Eloi li b'lasaskein, who had the audacity that his heart was so audacious that he has the chutzpah to do this. Mi hu zeh ve'ezahu. So what does Esther answer? Ish tsar v'oyev Haman hara hazeh. Okay. So the Gemara, Vayomer lama li. Why does it say Vayomer twice? Vayomer hamelech la'Achashverosh, Vayomer le'Esther HaMalka. Just say Vayomer hamelech Achashverosh le'Esther HaMalka. It's very, very strange. The king said, and he said to Esther. No, the king said to Esther. What's the Vayomer? Gewaldige question. Rashi writes in Megillah, wherever it says Vayomer twice, it's always for a medrash. What's the medrash? So Rashi quotes the Gemara. Amar Rabbo b'tchila yidei turgemer given Amar le'med the beis shol kosin and miyad Vayomer le'Esther HaMalka. In the beginning, Achashverosh communicated with Esther through a meturgeman. What do we mean through a meturgeman? Through a shliach, through a messenger. Because it's true, when Achashverosh was with Esther privately, of course he spoke to her directly. But it means in front of other people, the system of kings was that they would communicate to everybody, even in this case to the queen, through a messenger. This is like the covet of the Malchus. The Melech had a person, and he was the Meturgum, and he was the middleman to bring over the messages. We're not talking about when Achashverosh and Esther were private. Obviously, there was nobody in the room there to be able to be the Meturgum. But this is talking about in public. Here, there was somebody else here. There was Haman, and probably there were bodyguards, and there were whatever was there was Charvaina. We see later in the story. So first, he spoke to her through a shliach. That's why it says Vayomer HaMelech Achashverosh. Because it was not Vayomer La Esther. He didn't speak to Esther. He spoke to a shliach, not to Esther. The shliach gave it over to Esther. Kivan Damali, when she told him, I come from Shaul HaMelech, I'm from the descendants of Shaul, because basically she reveals the truth that what? That she's a Jew and she comes from Shaul. That Gar Sabach adds 3 words based on the version of the Gemara in Ein Yaakov. Bas Melochem Ano. I'm a daughter of kings. I come from Shaul Ish Yemini. Mordechai and Esther came from Shevet Binyamin, and Esther was a descendant of Shaul HaMelech, who, by the way, was commanded to wipe out Amalek, and he did not listen. The Al-Shich says that's why Mordechai said, Va'atu beisa vichtoi vedi, that if you don't go into the king to plead, you and your father's home will perish, because your father needs a tikkun for not wiping out Agag Melech Amalek. That's how we have Haman now. So now she reveals that she comes from the house of Shaul. Miyad vayomer Esther Hamalka. Now finally, immediately, he speaks to Esther Hamalka directly, because he finds out she is a Bas Melochem. Rashi says in the Megillah, quoting this Gemara, that the Medrash says in the beginning he spoke through a shliach. Now he found out she's from a royal family. Dibri Mohu Ba'atzmai. He spoke to her directly. Here Rashi doesn't explain this, but in the Megillah Esther, Rashi explains it. What happens next? So Vayomer HaMelech Achashverosh means he spoke to who? To a shliach. But then he finds out who she is, because she said, they're trying to kill me because I'm Jewish. So now suddenly, for the first time in public, he could speak directly to Esther, because she is a Bas Melochem. She's a daughter of kings. Stam, when I was a yeshiva bacher, so I was once Purim, so one of my Rosh Yeshivas put him with Fabrengen a little bit. So after the Megillah, we heard the Megillah in Shul. So he says, I want to tell you my pshat vayomer vayomer. He said, I want to tell you my own pshat vayomer vayomer. And he said something interesting, insightful. He says, he's a Yid, he's a briske cup, a lomdische cup. So he said, as a word. He said, there's 2 reasons why people speak. Sometimes you speak because you want to tell somebody something, so you say something. Sometimes you're really not interested, but you have to say something. You're pushed to the wall, you have to say something. You have to say something, so you figure out something to say. You're not really interested in saying this, but you have to say something. So you figure out the right thing to say. Vayomer HaMelech Achashverosh. Achashverosh had to say something. The queen says that somebody wants to murder me. Yeah. Somebody wants to murder me. Me and my nation, we're Jewish. I'm Jewish. Somebody wants to kill me. We know how Achashverosh hated the Jews. The Gemara says before Daf Yudalet, Bala Telem, Bala Chritz. Haman was the owner of the ditch and Achashverosh was the owner of the mount. But somebody, your queen comes and says, they want to kill my whole nation. Were you going to be quiet? So Vayomer HaMelech Achashverosh, he had to say something. But he wasn't interested. Now the question is, what are you going to say? So Vayomer Esther Hamalka, he said what he's going to say. Okay, this is a Purim Vertel. Vatomer Esther answered, Ish tsar v'oyev Haman ora hazeh. Who is this man? He's a tsar and a oyev. He's a oppressor. He's an enemy. Haman, the evil Haman. What? She could have just said Haman Araza. He asked me, who wanted to do this. Say Haman Araza. What do you have to give all the titulim, all the adjectives? Amar Rebbe Lazar Melamed Shoysa Machva Klape Achashverosh. Fascinating interpretation. She actually started to point towards Achashverosh. When she said Ish Tsar V'Oyev, she was not talking about Haman. She was talking about Achashverosh. Ish Tsar V'Oyev is Achashverosh. You're them. You're the oppressor. You're the enemy. And then there's Haman Araza. That's why it doesn't just say Haman Araza, because this is something else. Machve Klape Achashverosh. She started to point towards Achashverosh. That's what she was planning to say. Uba Malach v'Satar Yad Klape Haman. And an angel comes and he slaps her hand. He moves her hand away, sways her hand to go towards Haman. Rashi says, "Miribui," from the. I'll read Agai Sabach. Miribui davar zeh taloimet shahayel loimar Haman arazeh elashay seroit taloimet al Achashverosh itz sarva ayev al Haman arazeh. She wanted it was two titles here. Sarva ayev was for the king, and Haman arazeh was for Haman. That's why the sentence is so wordy. Now this is very, very strange. What's pshat? Why would she want to point to Achashverosh? This doesn't make sense. She's trying to persuade Achashverosh to cancel the decree. She wants to get rid of Haman. She wants to convince the king to cancel the decree. So why is she calling him Ish Tsar V'Oyev? This is not a very good diplomatic skill. You go into somebody and you say, you're the enemy, you're the Tzoyer HaYehudim, you're the oppressor. What are you trying to do? And the Malach comes and has to push away your hand. What's pshat? And this is how the Chazal understood why it says Ish Tsar V'Oyev. This is the only explanation that Belazar could give. There's a sefer called Medrash Talpiyos. It was authored by a man named Rabbi Eliyahu Akaya, and he also wrote a very famous sefer called Shevet Musar. Shevet Musar. So in Medrash Talpiyos, the alphabet goes in the alphabet. Under Achashverosh, he says a line. He says, Ha'amiti oiser regilusai. Lidvar ha'emes uregilusa la'emes garmala shaysamachve klape Achashverosh shayoyser tsar v'oyev mehaman. Which means truth follows the path of truth. A person who's truthful always says the truth and speaks truth. Esther was just full of truth. So instinctively, it wasn't consciously that she wanted to accuse Achashverosh. But because the truth is that Achashverosh was a much greater, Achashverosh in some ways hated the Jews more than Haman, at least according to some opinions, but certainly he despised the Jews, so the truth just came out. Yeah. The Ramban says, why did Moshe break the luchas? He says he saw what happened. Just like it says by Moshe Rabbeinu, why did he kill the Egyptian? You see a Jew being beaten to death. He couldn't stop himself. So he's saying, you're right. Intellectually, it didn't make sense. Intellectually, it's not what Esther should do. But it just came out. She was so emotional. She told Achashverosh the truth. And you needed a special guardian angel to throw away her hand. Satar es yada, to slap her hand. That it actually shouldn't go this way. It should go this way. So as she picked it up, it gets moved. It gets moved to Haman. I saw another vart from Reb Reuven Margolius. Reb Reuven Margolius was a very, very big Talmud Chacham. He passed away, I think, around 1970 in Eretz Yisrael. And he wrote lots and lots and lots of Svarim. He was a big, big gon. So I saw Reb Reuven Margolius, a very interesting interpretation. He was a famous sefer Margolius Hayam, a sefer Nitzutzei Or. So he says this in Nitzutzei Or. So he says what the Gemara means as follows: that when Hoisamachva Klape Achashverosh doesn't mean just she was pointing to Achashverosh that he's the evil one. That's not what it means. It means she was pointing to Achashverosh that Haman wants to kill him as much as he wants to kill her. Ish Tsar V'Oyev is, he's Tsar to me. He wants to kill me as a Jew. But he's Oyev to you. He couldn't care less about you either. He would like to get rid of you. The guy doesn't care about you. Like the Gemara says earlier, he got rid of Vashti because he was jealous of her, and he wants to get rid of me. So what Esther meant, Machve Klape Achashverosh, was she was pointing towards Achashverosh. This guy doesn't only want to kill me. Ish Tsar V'Oyev, he's an enemy to you. Machve Klape Achashverosh, he wants to kill you, this Haman Araza. Now what's the problem? The problem is that because of her emotions, her istrakshus, she forgot the rule in the palace. The rule in the palace is, the Gemara says in Masechta Chagiga Daf Hey and Masechta Psachim Daf Nun Zayin, that it's disrespectful to the king to show any hand gestures, to point to the king like this, was considered disrespectful to the point that the ancient kings could kill somebody for this. They were dictators, they were tyrants. But the Gemara says, "Man de machve b'moche kame malka." You just make faces, facial expressions. Or you make with your hand, azoy, that's in Chagig, it's facial expressions, or with hand signs, like sign language. In Psachim, he made with his hand, azoy. Chopped off his hand, Psachim daf nun zayin. The ancient kings were horrible. This was a horrible thing. It's disrespectful. You stand be'ema, be'yira, be'reses, be'ziyah with complete awe. To the Gemara says that there's a medrash in Bamidbar Rabbah, Perik Beis, Rabbi Margolia sees that if somebody points to the king, towards the face of the king, he could get executed for it. So when Esther, from emotions, went like this, he wants to kill you. This could have been very dangerous for her. This was a violation of the laws of the palace, and even if Achashverosh wouldn't have done anything to her, but certainly this would have enraged him. So Minash Shamayim, they pushed away her hand. That's how the Rabbi Margolia teaches the Gemara a little more balabatish. There's another vart that I once saw. Where did the Gemara get this idea from? Just because it's Ish Tsar V'Oyev, it means she was pointing to Achashverosh. What's happens? Maybe she was just giving more words about Haman. Like, why does Rebbe Elazar have to say this? So he said the Gemara was actually reading the text. Achashverosh said to her, Mi huzeh ve'ezahu, right, what's the lashon? Mi huzeh ve'ezahu, Hashem Eloi liboy, lasais came. What's the mi huzeh ve'ezahu? Mi huzeh ve'ezahu. So I told you mi huzeh means who's zeh. Ve'ezahu is, and who's who. In English, there's who's who, right? Ve'ezahu and who's who. Mi huzeh ve'ezahu. It's redundant. Zog mi huzeh. Hashem Eloi liboy, lasais came. Mi huzeh ve'ezahu. So pshat is azay. There's a famous halacha called Moide B'Miktzas. Moide B'Miktzas means, if I come to you and I say, you owe me $10,000, and you say, I only owe you $5,000, the other $5,000 I don't owe you, Chayev Shvua Min HaTorah. You're obligated to swear in Bezdin Min HaTorah that you paid, that you owe, that $5,000 that you don't owe me, you paid it, or you never borrowed it from me. And this is a Shvua Min HaTorah, biblical Shvua. And the Gemara learns it out from Parshas Mishpat and Perek Chav Beis. The lashon is when there's a dispute between two people, Asher Yoimar Kihu Zeh. Asher Yoimar Kihu Zeh. Parshas Mishpat and Perek Chav Beis pasuk Ches. So when he says that Kihu Zeh, you take him to Bezdin and you make him swear. So it's explained. Where did they learn it from? Asher Yoimar Kihu Zeh. Zeh is something that's revealed. Who is something that's concealed. Right? Zeh is second. Zeh is right here. This Marabetz boy v'oima zeh. The Gemara says at the end of Tainus, Marabetz boy v'oima zeh. Hine elekenu zeh. Zeh keli. You could point. Zeh. It's here. Who? When you say he, he's away. It's third person. It's not here. It's concealed. Zeh is nigla, and who is nister. So Asher Yoimar ki hu zeh is there's a zeh and there's a he. There's a who. There's Haidah and there's Kfira. Part of it, I'm Maida. This is real money. And part of it, I'm completely denying. So part of it is completely concealed. I don't agree. And part of it, I say, yeah, this is true. So he says, Achashverosh hated the Jews more than Haman. The Chazal tell us. But there was a big difference. Achashverosh hated them secretly. Haman hated them in a revealed way. So Achashverosh says, Miu zeh ve'ezahu. There's a zeh and there's a hu. There's somebody who says all day he hates Jews, and there's somebody who doesn't hate Jews, but deep down he hates Jews, and it's expressed in clandestine ways. So Haman said, Haman hara hazeh. Haman is the zeh. But there's a hu. And the hu, that's you. Ish tsar v'oyev, that's the hu. That's the mihu zeh ve'ezahu. But the last moment, the Malach pushed her away and things worked out, even though Esther could not hold back from saying the truth on her own. What happens next? Esther now accuses Haman. So it says Haman is afraid. Haman nivas, he's afraid, and the king is angry. So Hamelech kom b'chamosim mishtei hayayin, in his anger he gets up from the feast and he goes to the garden, and Haman stands up to beg for his life from Esther Hamalka because he realized how angry the king is. And then we know the next scene, the king comes back from the garden to the home where the party of wine was, and Haman is falling on the bed where Esther is, and that's when he says, Hagam lichbosh Hamalka imi baboyis, are you going to conquer the queen inside my house? And Pnei Haman chafu, the face of Haman falls. Zog the Gemara, Hamelech kam b'chamasay memishtei hayayin el ginas habison. V'hamad amad levakesh al nafshay. The king gets up in his anger from the mishtei hayayin. He gets up from the party and he goes to the garden. And then the pasuk continues. The next pasuk. This is Megillas Esther Perek Zayin. That v'hamelech shav meginas habison. The melech comes back from the garden, back to the mishtei hayayin. He leaves the base mishtan to go to the gin, and he comes back. So the Gemara makish sheva lekema. Its obvious that the pasuk compares returning to getting up. In other words, the Torah uses, the Megillah uses the same language of leaving to the garden to coming back from the garden. Makish sheva lekema. The return is similar to the going. Makima b'chema, just like when he stood up. It says v'hamelech kom b'mishtei hayayin. He stood up from the party to leave. It says b'chamasa, he was anger. Af shiva b'chema. He also came back with tremendous anger. Where's the Gemara learning this from? So the Maharsha explains that there are there's extra words here. It says hamelech kom b'chamasa b'mishtei hayayin al ginas habison. The king was angry. He stood up from the party and he went to the garden. Okay, very good. The next pasuk says, Hamelech shav miginas habison al beis mishtei hayayin. Could have just said, Hamelech shav, the king returned. We know where he was. He was in the garden, and he came back to where he was before, which is by the party. But he repeats exactly the same words. Hamelech kam b'chamasai, from the mishtei hayayin to the ginas habison, and then Hamelech shav from ginas habison to beis mishtei hayayin. Apparently, mamish superfluous. Exactly the same words all over again. Even if you want to tell me where he came back from, you want to tell me he didn't go bowling in the middle, he didn't go for pizza, he didn't go from a lava malka in the middle, he didn't go for a Pesach Seder in the middle, for a Chalamayah trip, so on. So say, Hamelech shav meginas habison el beis mishtei hayayin. He returned. Returning is, you say somebody was in the middle of the meal, he left the house, he went to the garden, right? He went to the porch to have a cigarette, or to drink, or to speak to somebody, or to take a phone call, and he came back. It says he came back el beis mishtei hayayin. So from here the Gemara learns that the Megillah is trying to say that the same state of Kimmel was the state of Sheva. Just like he got up, it says b'chamasai. When he returned, it doesn't say b'chamasai, but it was also b'chamasai. He was tremendously angry, and that explains why it says again miginas habison. He left miginas habison, and he went back al beis mishtei hayayin. Again, it could have just said hamelech shav, or it could have said hamelech shav miginas habison. It could have said hamelech shav el mishtei hayayin. We know he was in ginas habison. He's trying to say that no. Just like he left, he came back, and he's trying to say something else. Something happened in the garden. Something happened in the garden that made him angry. That's why he doesn't just say he returned, or he returned to the party. He returned from the garden to the party. And how did he return? The same way like he left, with anger, because something happened in the garden. What happened? The azal va'ashkach l'malachi asharis, the idmolei kegavre v'akri leilone de bustani. When he went to the garden, he found angels which appeared as people, and they were uprooting the trees of the bustani. Bustani is the garden. For Amarlu, and he said, Mayav Daichel, what are you doing? Why are you uprooting my trees? V'amrulei, they told him, the Fakdinan Haman, because Haman told us to. Haman came to the garden. Haman told us to go to the garden, uproot your trees. Ooh, now I understand he's angry. Haman is completely taking over my life. Now, how are you supposed to understand this Gemara? What does this mean? Does this mean literally there were angels who appeared like people who were uprooting the trees? Does it mean metaphorically, symbolically, that when Achashverosh was in the garden, he went to the garden to relax? But in the garden, he was just enraged deeper and deeper, realizing and having this conversation inside his head, perhaps inside his head, right? Angels that appeared like people, either physically or metaphorically inside his head. and telling him that all of his trees of his garden are being uprooted because of Haman's commandment. You know how people's brains work. So this man is now really angry. Comes back home. What happens now? The Megillah says, Haman is falling on the bed where Esther is. He's falling on the bed. Zog the Gemara, Neufel, Nafal Miboyle. What's Neufel? What, he was falling right now? Nafal, he fell on the bed. It was Mamish, when he walked in, he was falling. I mean, Achashverosh was in the garden for some time. So L'chayda, it says earlier that Haman stood up to beg Esther. She said, Haman, Nafal, he fell on the bed to beg. Haman was trying to stand up. A malach came and threw her on her, so that the king would obviously be suspicious. That's why it says Neufel, because every moment he was falling again. In other words, again, when we say malach here, I just want to explain malach. What does a malach mean? A malach means there's a force in you, an angel. There may be a force in you that you may not even be conscious of. So we have a malach, malachi asharis, guardian angels. You do a mitzvah, it creates a malach, it creates an energy. There's an energy that the Rebbeinu Shalom orchestrated that was pushing Haman down on the bed despite his will. He's trying to get up every moment. But Neufel, he keeps on falling and falling. There's something in him that's not allowing him to do the normal thing, which is get up. So that's the pshat. So b'meila, what happens now? So Achashverosh sees this. And when he sees this Amar, he says, Vai mi beisa, vai mi bara. Woe unto me what's happening in the house, and woe unto me what's happening on the outside. In the house, Haman is trying to take the queen, and he's trying to violate the queen. And on the outside, what's happening? The messengers of Haman are uprooting my trees. You're going to conquer the queen with me in the house. Obviously, we see from these words, yeah. Are you going to also? Gam also means also. What's the also? In other words, besides what you're doing to me outside, you also want to conquer inside. That's what he's saying, the Hagam. So he's upset about two things. He's upset about the chutz, and he's upset about the pnim. And the bias is the gam, in addition to what happened outside. And the Gemara says, vai. He said vai, because vayomer, when he says vayomer, the Marsha says it's like vai omar. He said vai. Vayomer is vai omar. He said, woe unto what's happening on the inside, what's happening on the outside. The Sifzei Chachamim says that the Malachim were not lying when they said that Haman is trying to uproot the trees. They were saying the truth, because Haman wanted that the trees, the Jewish people, are called trees. Ki ha'adam eitz hasada. The trees hold up the world. The trees give us fruits. The trees give us oxygen. The trees are responsible for the existence of the world. So therefore, they were saying Haman is trying to uproot the trees. And this is the voice that he heard in the garden, that Haman really is here to uproot the Malucha by uprooting the Jewish people. What happens next? Vayomer Charvoina. Charvoina speaks up. Charvoina is one of the servants of the king, and he famously says, we have the tree that Mordechai put up in order to hang Haman, that Haman put up in order to hang Mordechai. It's standing in the house of Haman, and this is where he wanted to execute Mordechai, the man who spoke well about the king. So the Gemara, Vayomer Charvoina said, the king said, Telu alav, hang Haman on this tree. This is Megillas Esther, chapter 8. Charvoina too was no tzaddik. Charvoina too wanted to execute Mordechai, and he wanted Mordechai on the tree. That's why he knew about it. How did Charvoina know where the tree is? How did he know the height of the tree? How did he know the purpose of the tree? The answer is, he was ba'isa eitza. He was part of the scheme. The boat, he saw that the original scheme of Haman was not fulfilled. Remember, in the morning, Haman came to ask Achashverosh to hang Mordechai, but that didn't happen. Instead, Haman had to take Mordechai around the streets of Shushan. Miyad barach, Charvoina immediately escaped Haman, and he abandoned his loyalty to Haman, and now he became an informer to the king. That's what happens. V'hainu diksiv. This is an illustration of what the pasuk says in Iyov, Perek Chav Zayin. Vayashlech alav v'lo yachmal miyadoi baroyach yivrach. Basically, Hashem hurls bad fate on the wicked person, and he doesn't have compassion on him. What happens? All of his friends run away. Miyadoi baroyach yivrach, from his hand he runs away, meaning all those who are loyal. Rashi says, B'nei sayatoi v'chaveirav barchim miyadoi. All of the people who help him and all of his friends run away. It's loyalty that is conditional. As long as you're on the top of the world, I'm with you. The moment I see you're on the bad side, I'm gone. Like we learned, the Gemara says earlier that when Haman came home, so first the Gemara speaks, the pasuk calls the people there his friends, and then the Chachamim. So one of the interpretations is when Haman is on the top of the world, he has a lot of friends. When he's in the abyss, he doesn't have friends, he has Chachamim, he has consultants. So here's the Gemara is saying, Charvoina runs away from Haman and he says, this is not the place to invest in, we need new stocks. And suddenly he becomes a Yoyitz v'Achashverosh and he says, Mordechai is a good man and this Haman is trying to hang him. There's always the charvoinas in every courtyard. We know there's other midrashim about charvoina. There's different interpretations. We say in Shoshanas Yaakov, "V'gam charvoina zochel atov rasha aher rasha ahin." L'poil mamash he got Haman executed. So we always thank charvoina zochel atov. But according to this Gemara, there's always the charvoinas in shtetl. The charvoinas in shtetl, we call them consultants, meaning they don't have real loyalty. When Haman is on the top, they go to Haman. Mordechai should be killed. Mordechai should be killed. The moment they see that the king changed his position, so now they're suddenly friends of Mordechai, friends of the king. These are the charvoinas in life who at a given moment will run away from their previous loyalties. So what happens now? They hang Haman on the tree that he prepared for Mordechai. V'chamas hamelech shachacha. And the wrath of the king calms down. This is the end of chapter 7 of the Megillah. Frag the Gemara shtei shchiches halol ulama. Why does it say shachacha with the two chafs? Shachacha. It could have said kishoich chamas hamelech Achashverosh in chapter 2 of the Megillah when the anger calmed down. And over there's only one chaf. What we have by the Mabel, right, in Parshas Noach. Vayashoiku hamayim. The water calmed down from its rage during the flood. Vayashoiku kashoich. Why does it say here shachacha? Say v'chamas hamelech shacha. Why two? Why shtei shchiches? So the Gemara achas shel malka shel olam v'achas shel Achashverosh. One is the wrath of the king of the world, and one is the wrath of Achashverosh. What does this mean? What is the Gemara saying? Achas shel malka shel achas shel Achashverosh. The Gemara is basically bringing out what Mordechai and Esther understood, that the Gzeira doesn't happen on earth if it didn't happen in heaven. No Gzeira can happen on earth against the Jewish people if it didn't happen in heaven. Like the Gemara said before, Balayla hu nadada shnas hamelech, shnas malkoi shel olam. The king can only be asleep here because the king up there is asleep. Because there was Shnas HaMelech, Malka Shel Olam, therefore the Gzeira can happen. So he says, Shachacha is the first anger that had to be relaxed was Malka Shel Olam, the king's anger, the king of the world. And then automatically it evolved down here that the wrath of Achashverosh also calmed down. Va'amrila, others say, Achas Shel Esther, Achas Shel Vashti. It's referring to Achashverosh. The wrath about Vashti and the wrath about Esther both had to calm down. He was still angry what Haman did to Vashti. And he was angry what Haman did to Esther. Rashi says, Achas shel Esther, shel Yakos Achashverosh al ma she'asa Haman leHesther. What Haman now tried to do to Esther, lichbash es hamalkei mi babayis, plus what he did to Vashti. He gave him the advice to kill Vashti. He was angry on both, and that's shachacha, both angers. Okay, Chevra, we're going to stop here, and Be'ezer Hashem, we're going to continue our shir tomorrow, Friday morning. And I wish everybody a beautiful, healthy, wonderful day. I want to invite all of the children, your grandchildren, to join us today, Thursday, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, March 26 at 4 p.m. on the yeshiva.net for a special children's program. In the meantime, stay healthy. My love and blessings. A guten Chodesh, a gesunte Chodesh, a freiliche Chodesh, a lichtige Chodesh, a lustigen Chodesh, benissen nigalu, benissen asidin le'goyel, v'mheira b'yameinu. Have an amazing day. And stay healthy and stay home. Ready?